Hey, how you doing? Back again. It's Trevor Alger here with our performance wellness team, nutrition tips. We're going to give you a dessert today. We're going to talk about desserts. We got sweet tooth. You know, you want to have something after dinner that's going to, put the icing on the cake, so to speak. But we're not going to use cake and we're not going to use ice cream, but we are going to use natural sugars. This is fruit, another bounty from the garden. So it's an alternative to those sweets, the brownies and the cookies and the cakes and the things that are just loaded with fat and, of course, other preservatives and all these other things when you buy them yourself if you don't make it from scratch. So here's an easy thing for you to do to create a fruit salad. And you can get all this stuff at the grocery store. I'm going to show you, and we'll talk about how to pick melons, some of the old tricks of the trade, the best guess. We got watermelon here. I'll show you how to pick a pineapple. I've got a couple of melons here. This was a nice melon that was brought in. She said it was a honeydew, but I believe it's in the cantaloupe, more in the cantaloupe range. But you see it's got a different color than one that I bought from the store that I'll show you in a minute. We got some cut up watermelon all ready to go and some grapes. There's no rules. You can do what you want. You can add, people add kiwi. The strawberries, though, I would like to say a word about strawberries, that strawberries have a tendency to leak their color all over the other fruit. So if you're going to a party, you want to make this ahead of time and keep it overnight and then bring it to the party. You might want to stay away from the strawberries because it will dye everything else that's in the bowl with it kind of a red color. So your pineapple will be pink, and all the other fruits, anything that's light colored like this, might turn red from the strawberry. So that's just a trick from me to you, or a tip from me to you to avoid that issue. But most of your fruits, pretty good. Apple slices, it doesn't matter how you cut it up. Some people use a melon baller, which is a small spoon. It's real deep, and so when you scoop it out, it comes out as like an ice cream scoop for melons or softer fruits, so you can actually get a scoop of it, and it makes a real nice presentation, and it's fun for kids. You put little toothpicks in it and that sort of thing, and it looks like just a little ball of fruit on the toothpick. But for me, simple like this, just cut it up. I'll show you some ways of cutting up the fruit, and we're gonna put it in the bowl and we'll have a fruit salad for dessert tonight. I have also, bonus, chosen to do kind of it's not a strawberry shortcake, but what we're picking is angel food cake. So I did go ahead and get the cake because some people are going to be worried that all we're going to have is fruit, and they're not down with that. So what I did get was angel food cake. Now my wife is going to be really upset that I got a store-bought one because she would make it from scratch, but I'm not a baker, so I'm going to save you the time for having me try and make a angel food cake, but get one from the store. But I wanted to point out that there's no fat. Here's the nutrition label. There's no fat in a angel food cake. There is sugar and there is carbs, but the calorie count is pretty conservative, 140 calories. This is about 5 to 6 servings, so your slices are pretty good size, so you get a fair amount of cake. It's real spongy. It goes great with those strawberries I was talking about, which are in the refrigerator. I have chopped them up already. And what I have done is I've chopped them up real small, and I dusted them with some granulated sugar. Okay, so not too much sugar, but what that's going to do is going to bring the juices out of the strawberries, and it kind of makes like a little jam with the fresh fruit. So container strawberries, cut it up really tiny. That way everybody can get a nice spoonful of it on their cake. And then I've got some Cool Whip as well. And if you want, you can whip your own whipped cream. If you've got the equipment here at the studio or at the station, don't necessarily have all that, so we're going to go with what we got. So I've got the strawberries are in the refrigerator. It takes a while for that to happen, for the sugar to kind of break down the strawberry and give it that juice, that syrup that it naturally creates. So you want to go ahead and do that and then put it in the refrigerator and let it sit an hour or two and check on it and see what consistency you're at. So what we've got right here is, we'll start with this melon that was brought to us by a citizen out of their garden. and wanted us to share this with everyone. So I've just sliced it open. I'm gonna scoop out the seeds, and I'll show you how I like to cut it up, cube it up. Somebody has already gotten into our watermelon and chopped it up for me. I'll get to that in a moment. So some people don't know how to pick a melon, and some of the best advice I was ever given is, first of all, when you get a melon at the store, you want to feel it. You want to make sure there's no major blemishes that are super duper soft. That's kind of obvious. You don't want any rotten parts. And so you give the melon a good look over. Some people tap it and listen to it. But the best way for like a honeydew or a cantaloupe is to smell it right here at this part. If you get a pretty good, strong aroma of what the fruit would smell like when it's cut open, that means it's close to ripe. If you don't smell anything at all, it's not quite ready yet. It's going to be really hard. So you want to get one that's already putting off its bouquet, and you'll know you're closer to that good consistency of the texture of the meat inside, or the fruit that's inside here. So what we'll do is so I've split it in half, and then you'll want to scoop out the seeds. It's good practice. Why don't you take a look at that there? And then so I'll cut it into a wedge. The other trick is, and I'll move this out of the way. So I have a selection of knives here. So this is your basic chef's knife that everybody uses. And then I got another slender one here. This one is serrated. This is normally used for breads, but I have found that a serrated knife comes in really handy if you have something with a really thick rind on it, like the pineapple. If your knives aren't super duper sharp at home, an old beat up serrated knife works well on pineapple, and then you're not dulling your good chef's knife by chopping up a pineapple. So I keep an old cheapy serrated knife, and that's what I use on my pineapples or anything with a really thick skin on it. Also, you'll want your knife to be long enough to go through a fruit as big as a watermelon. So you'll end up with a big mess on your hand if you use a tiny short knife trying to cut up a watermelon. So always look at your knife. So a thin one like this, which has a nice blade, that you can get thinner cuts and you have more control over it, much like if you were I don't know, working with fish and things like that. So what I like to do is get a wedge about like that. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, then I'm gonna score it down the center, but I'm not gonna cut it all the way through. So that's gonna half it. Then I'm gonna come across it here, but not cut all the way through the skin again. Okay, so then it's gonna kind of accordion out the fruit like that. Huh? You see that? And then it's split down the center as well. So that, now that we've talked about knives, I'll move this over, have my bowl ready to go. So that there's multiple ways of doing this. Obviously, you want to be really careful with sharp knives, but if you simply just place the knife right here, just over the skin, and you're kind of filleting it, same as you would with fish or chicken or something like that, and you're just wanting to take the skin off. Okay, so I'm following, being real careful here. All right, and now what I have done is I've cut all these pre-sliced cubes off of the skin, and now I can dump it in my bowl. And I'll do that a couple of times. So I've got my trash here out of the way. We'll show you again real quick. Score in the center, cross cut, not cutting all the way through to the rind, and then coming back, giving it that fillet off of the skin or the rind, all the way off. And then I have my bite-sized pieces, and I can just put in my bowl. All right, so we have a couple of those. I also have grapes here. Simple. The thing is, you want to wash all of your fruits, okay? So any fruits you decide you want to use, make sure you give them a good washing. You don't know who's been touching them in the grocery store or what have you. And so you want to wash them off. Not to mention pesticides, anything else that has touched this fruit when it came from the wherever it was harvested to your house. Anything and everything could have gotten on it, So always washing your fresh produce, your greens, and things like that. It's a good habit to get into. And also, of course, washing your hands. So I'll throw a little grapes in there. We've already got the watermelon pre-sliced up in these big chunks that you can grab by hand. I'm gonna make them a little bit smaller because in a fruit salad, you kind of want everybody to be able to eat this with a fork. Put it on a plate, spoon it out with a ladle or what have you. Say you're taking it to a pool party or something, and you can keep this in the refrigerator for a couple of days. Like I said, if you're not mixing your fruits incorrectly and getting a lot of bleed through, it's gonna look exactly like it did when you put it together. So that's the goal. So the big cuts of the watermelon, again, everybody's kind of familiar with the watermelon and how you cut it up. You can cut it up into the pie pieces or the wedges like I did with the cantaloupe. Or you can make the big smiley pieces. All right, so I've got some seeds in here. I'm gonna pull these out. That way you don't have to pull them all out. Some of the white seeds are very easy to just eat and consume, but a lot of the black seeds, a lot of people don't like that, so we'll try and remove some of those. So when picking a watermelon, some of the advice that I've been given is that you're going to be looking for a spot on it, being one like this where it's a little bit discolored. Again, always look your melons over, make sure there's nothing rotten on it. There's not been any major damage to it. And one of these colored spots here, you look for good spiraling or good markings on the fruit. It's grown while it's not deformed or anything. It's in a pretty good shape overall. The spot is also a good indicator, as I've been told, for your watermelons. But most of the time, you get a pretty good watermelon. If it's not too small, it's not too big. It's the average size. It's got good striping, good color, maybe a spot on it or what have you, and it feels right. Again, a lot of people tap it. I don't know what they're expecting to hear when they do that. If it sounds, I guess, like concrete, then it's probably no good. Okay, moving on. So one last thing I wanted to show you, and so pineapple. Pineapple is excellent, and nature, nothing gets sweeter than Mother Nature when it comes to the natural sugars and fruits. Pineapple and strawberries being some of the sweetest available, peaches, things like that. So picking a pineapple, a lot of people don't know what to do. So the best advice I have been given, and it seems to be working out for me pretty well, is on the top here, this growth that comes out the top, these little leaves, if you give it a tug when it's in the store, just with the weight of the fruit on it, give some of these center ones just a tug, just pull on it like that. If it readily comes out, if you can get one to pull out like that really easily, that means it's pretty ripe and it's ready to go. It's going to be nice and sweet on the inside. If they don't want to give, like that one gave again, these out here are newer leaves, so they're in there really firm. If these center ones are just as firm as some of these outer leaves, that fruit's not ready yet and it's not quite ripe enough. But these are coming out pretty easily with just a simple tug, and I got almost all the interior leaves to just come right out. So I think this is a pretty safe bet. This is going to be a good pineapple. So what I like to do is make it pretty simple. Let's see if you can see this here. Make an adjustment just a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to cut the top off, and like I said, I like to use my serrated knife with the pineapple because it is so thick that it will dull your good knives, so you can avoid doing that. So here I go. I'm just chopping the top off straight away so they can remove all the leaves, the top of the fruit. We did have a kind of a tutorial on mango here earlier today, but I chose not to go into that whole explanation with you because mangoes are a very particular fruit and how the pit grows inside of it, so it can be a bit tricky. Maybe another time. All right, so we'll finish off the pineapple. So I got the top off flat now. Do the same to the bottom. You don't want to take off too much, but you don't want to cut it too shallow either. So maybe about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch off the bottom. So we'll cut that off and get down to the good fruit. In the center of the pineapple is going to be a core. And if you have a core tool or core for things like that, that's great if you can use it, but most people don't. So here at the station, we don't have anything fancy like that. So what I've got is I've got pineapple with the top and the bottom cut off. So what I'm going to do first is I want to get off all this stuff on the side. So real easily, you might have seen people do this. The hibachi guys do this at the Japanese restaurants with certain things that they have. So I've just cut up the side off. You'll notice that the spines and the spikes, excuse me, on the side of the fruit, they go in pretty deep. So you'll find by trial and error how deep you need to go when cutting the skin off. If it's not enough, you'll still see some growth in the fruit, and you want to go ahead and remove that. So maybe 1/4 inch on some, maybe less, maybe a little bit more. And you just work your way around the fruit there. See, that one I did not get deep enough. So I still have, as you can see, I still have some of that growth coming through. Some is okay, but you want to remove most of that if you can, because it's not nice to bite down into a piece of pineapple and get that woody texture in your mouth. All right, so we're going to go around real quick. See if I can speed this up. I know we're taking up a lot of your time for a fruit salad, when it's so much easier. You could be eating a popsicle right now. Actually, if you are going to choose an ice cream type treat, popsicles are better for you than ice cream because they have no fat. Okay? All right, so we're almost finished with the pineapple. Got it skinned. All right, so pineapple skin all the way around. I want to make sure that I go across the pineapple, right across the core. The core is going to be that button right in the middle, and it's very hard compared to the rest of the fruit. So I'm going to go right across the center, hopefully straight down, and keep even with the core all the way through. So if you can see this, you can see the grain of the core going straight up and down, where the rest of the fruit comes off to the side, kind of flowers out from the center. We want to remove that center portion. All right, so the trick to do, what I have found is easiest, is once I get the pineapple cut in half, I'll go back and 1/4 it right through the center of the core again. So now my hard center is right on this point. See the point there? And this is my hard edge, or if you want to do it that way. Okay, so that's the hard portion. So all I have to do is come across this and just take the top off the teepee right down the center like that. So now the core, the hard part, which you don't want to eat, is off of there. So then I have a wedge that looks kind of like that. Okay, I'll cut that in half again. Then I'll come across it a few times. And now you've got your bite-sized pieces. Okay? So that goes right in the bowl. So once you've established a little bit of skill with your knives and knowing what parts of the fruit you want to remove and what parts you want to keep, you should be able to prepare yourself a really nice fruit bowl for a party. So that's the start of a really good fruit bowl. I'm going to stay on it until I get enough in here to feed all the rest of these 6 guys. So, like I said, honeydew, cantaloupe, watermelons, all your melons. You can add apples, grapes, kiwi. Some people add, and you'll find out some you want the fruits that are all similar in texture, and then throw a couple of curveballs in there to kind of give it a little bit different dynamic. So I told you about the angel food cake. We've got the strawberries in the refrigerator. If we get a chance, maybe I'll come back and I'll show you how you just cut off a slice of cake, drizzle a little bit of the strawberries over top with some of the natural syrup that it has created, and then a dollop of Cool Whip, and you got yourself a party. All right, so good luck with that. Enjoy yourselves at the market, picking your fruits, smelling your melons, and we'll catch you next time or some other tips here in the kitchen with Trevor, the Performance Wellness Team, New Hanover County Fire Rescue. Stay safe. Be healthy.